Yeah, so I mean, I've been listening to a lot of the James Bonding podcast
on the Nerdist Network.
Yeah, they are on the Nerdist Network, and it's really weird being like not the huge fan of James Bond. You know, that like you guys are. Like I have
you more of an outsider perspective.
Exactly. And the weird thing is like listening to episodes for movies that I haven't even seen yet, like From Russia with Love.
Yeah. Did you ever see A View to a Kill when I let you borrow the box set?
No, and that was actually my introduction to their podcast. They guested on
teamed up,
on How Did This Get Made, which I love that podcast. And like I'm like, wow, this sounds ridiculous, and I kind of want to see it. You know, with the whole Eiffel Tower restaurant and the butterfly attack and
nearly 60-year-old Roger Moore.
Yeah,
the surprise punch.
Yeah.
Oh, it's coming. Sorry. I'm sorry to hit you.
But like I find that they unfortunately to me they shit talk Pierce Brosnan movies so much because
Brosnan's your Bond.
That is, he is my Bond, and like, you know, he's my favorite Bond. Yeah. I know that's kind of blasphemy. I mean, you know,
I don't think it's not really.
No, I don't think so.
No. I mean no worse than me saying George Lazenby.
Yeah. Which I will defend Your Honor in that and say that it's not the biggest problem with George Lazenby's one movie was that they were so concerned with like making jokes about how it's a new actor.
Yeah, I would say that the worst Bond, no offense to Sir Roger, but is probably Roger Moore.
I agree. My exposure now that I have an exposure to every single Bond, Roger Moore is my least favorite. Granted, I've only seen Octopussy, Moonraker, and which
Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
I've caught more shit for saying T-Dalt's my favorite.
I love
all the way
too, but
that was the one that you enjoyed the most.
Yeah, exactly. Out of all the ones that we watched, T-Dalt was my favorite, and I ended up watching his other movie on my own.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But so, any rationale, or are they just like fuck Pierce Brosnan?
Mostly what they're saying, they're hardcore Bond fans, and I think their big problem is that like they worry too much that the Brosnan ones are a little bit too self-aware and end up being like too much on the parody. Like there's so much, hey, here's a reference to this, here's a reference to that, like from what I've heard them talking about. And also they universally think that was it Tomorrow Never Dies or
Die Another Day?
They universally say that Die Another Day is the worst Bond movie ever.
I got to agree with them, not counting the 67 Casino Royale or Never Say Never Again.
Yeah.
Of the canonical Bond films, that's my least favorite.
It's pretty rough.
And from the ones that I have seen, I agree that is pretty weak sauce. But I don't think that that's any reason to say that Pierce Brosnan is the worst Bond.
Yeah, I don't think it's Brosnan's fault.
Or rather, maybe they just say that his movies are the worst, not necessarily he is the worst Bond.
I mean, I don't think he's the worst Bond, but I think in terms of like you put all their movies together, I'm
per capita.
Yeah, I'm going Pierce Brosnan, and I don't think it's because of him as an actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the Bond we all grew up with.
Yeah, GoldenEye.
Tomorrow Never Dies. Be my favorite Bond movie.
Yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies is the first one I saw in the theaters.
Me too. Yeah,
I got a special place. I think it's a good Bond movie, but I get the extra like oomph, or it gets instead of being like a B, it gets a B+ because of like it was such a big deal for me seeing a Bond movie in the theaters finally.
Yeah, no more foreplay.
Now, could they have put anyone else, like say if Daniel Craig had been in GoldenEye, would it have still been as successful?
I don't think so. I don't think Daniel Craig's the kind of actor that needed.
Or did the movie just make it itself, and whoever was playing the Bond for that one not really make it so successful?
I think Pierce Brosnan was a charm.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about Bond, kind of like The Doctor, is they kind of tailor the directorial and the tone based on whoever's playing it. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to get, a Timothy Dalton intense Bond film with Roger Moore. Like, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And like Timothy Dalton going to space in Moonraker would not have worked.
Yeah. You don't see Timothy Dalton, banging a chick like while orbiting the Earth.
Yeah. And he's not like making jokes left and right,
Yeah, he makes a few.
Yeah, but
more so in The Living Daylights.
But not
even more
compared
so
to
in Hot Fuzz.
Yes.
Yeah, but not compared to,
And he's in space in Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. But he treats that like Oscar-winning material.
Yeah. He's like Space Errol Flynn.
Yeah, he's awesome. My favorite part of both of those movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Levels check out. And, hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
I'm Josh.
And you've walked into us, checking in our levels and just kind of catching up. It's kind of a slow week as opposed to last week, certainly. Don't expect another double stuffed unless we find some, gold mine topic to talk about. You guys do anything interesting this past week?
I have something interesting to say, actually.
I do.
I do. Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone.
Yes,
call
Mr.
me.
Bozick.
Thank you, Mr. Stone.
Mr. Bozick.
At the time this podcast comes out, or the time we're recording this podcast, excuse me, not the time it comes out. This is the 3-year anniversary that I met Mr. Samuel Warren Stone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because you guys met on.
It was on Anne's birthday.
Yeah.
We were going to see, and we've told this story before, but for those who came in late to reference the Phantom,
since statistically speaking, every episode is probably someone's first
this
episode.
is true. I was for a mutual friend TJ. That we did a podcast with way back in the day called the Cinema Circus.
Yeah, the Twitter account is still active, in which, we haven't.
I haven't checked on
We haven't made any tweets, but,
no,
it's still there.
If you want to follow it. But
we'll have a link in the.
Yeah, right. TJ for years and years was telling me, you got to meet this guy Sam. He's like the Asian you. That's how he kept putting it. And I was like, okay. And I'm assuming he probably told you, it's like the.
Not really. I didn't hear much about.
Oh, well, I'm not Asian, so I guess that's probably why.
He's the white you, Sam.
Yeah, he's the yeah.
He's
and
the
so,
other
but yeah,
half.
he kept telling me this guy loves the Beatles and stuff. I was like, all right. And so they were playing the Yellow Submarine at Fairfax Corner.
Yeah, the stars lined up for that because that's one of my sister's favorite films of all time.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, we walked in and I think Anne's boyfriend at the time was there as well, and Samuel, and so I sat down and the natural thing when you're meeting another Beatles fan would have been, and I don't know why I didn't do this, I'm glad I didn't, was like, hey man, I can't believe we're seeing the fucking Yellow Submarine on the big screen, which would have ruined. I mean, first of all, this would have been the first time I meet Sam.
It was a surprise.
It was a surprise for Sam's sister because, I get you, like you're saying, that's her favorite Beatles movie, and I guess she had no idea what she was seeing, and so that's the last thing she probably thought. That the lights will go down and it's a freaking Yellow Submarine that comes up.
Yeah.
And so for some reason I just didn't. I was just like, hey, nice to meet you. And sat down and
Pepperland
yeah, the movie starts and she was like, holy fucking shit, and I was like, oh God, I'm glad I didn't fucking say anything. But that was the start. I mean, I guess, we kind of talked for a little bit afterwards, but then we kind of came with this idea.
Well, TJ had let me know that you wanted to start a podcast, that you were interested in doing something like that, and that's where Cinema Circus really came about because we met at what used to be Caribou Coffee at Fairfax.
That's right.
Corner.
We shut down the Chipotle.
Yeah.
And then over to Caribou Coffee because you were, again, instrumental in getting me back into reading single issues of comics. Because at the time I was just
doing... Now you work at a comic store.
Now I work at a comic store. And I think a lot of it was, I was reading just graphic novels and I'd pick in here and there. And, I had heard the New 52 and I was just like, I don't know, I've never really done single issues, but you were telling me some of the stories that were going on and I was picking your brain for just like, hey, what is Superman doing now,
Superman friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, being dumb things.
Yeah, doing dumb things, wearing armor, but he gets better, It does. So I saw that today it popped up and I was like, oh yeah, it's been 3 years since the fun began, I guess. I don't know.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Yellow Submarine was my initial exposure to the Beatles, and I own that movie on Laserdisc.
Oh, fantastic. I own it on VHS.
I have it on Blu-ray.
VHS and DVD. So we got it all. Yeah, we got it all over the place. Josh, do you own it?
My mother owns it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah,
Close
but
enough.
no, my film introduction to them would have been Help.
Me
Which
too.
is a
That was
fantastic
mine.
Oh, no, I'm literally saying that was my
Gateway.
blanket introduction to it. Like I had never heard any of their music, never seen any of their other movies. Just Yellow. As far as I was aware, for the first probably 5, maybe even 10 years of my life, that was who the Beatles were. They were cartoons. And then, slowly, my mom was like, "Oh no, they have this whole catalog
Yeah.
of
They kinda
music.
changed the
I
world.
have
Yeah, there's 12
so
other
many of their
albums."
albums."
Well, the funny thing is, for the longest time, I didn't know it wasn't them doing the voices until much later. They got professional actors to do the voices.
I kind of knew that, but every time someone says that, I'm like, "What?"
I saw it in your face when I said it again.
Yeah, when you first said it, I was like, "Real?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I knew."
Yeah,
that.
and they only show up in that end credit or end scene right before the credits.
Yeah.
And they tried to get out. They had a 3-picture contract with United Artists, and of course, the first 2 films, A Hard Day's Night and Help satisfied the first two parts of that, and they were hoping that their one-off appearance in Yellow Submarine would satisfy the third, and United Artists was like, you don't even voice the characters.
Yeah.
And so that's why they did Let It Be a couple years later.
Mm. It is. I assume it's the songs are their original recordings, though, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's not like cover bands or karaoke versions.
Yeah. What's the name of that one? Have you ever go to Abbey Road on the River?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's another big. It's kind of like a pseudo Beatles convention.
It's TJ
I've
and I
never
went.
actually been.
TJ and I went 2 years in a
We should
row.
cosplay
And it
as
was-
the Yellow Submarine Beatles.
Yeah, I'll be Jeremy, this furry thing.
Yes.
I'll be when I'm 64 Ringo. You won't even be able to tell.
Yeah.
It's just a big mound of hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just white lump. Yeah. Like Cousin
I
It.
guess one of them has white and gray stripes in his hair. I'll be that one.
Yeah.
Whichever one that is.
I feel like it's George, but I could
Probably.
be wrong.
It seems like a George thing to do.
Yeah. It's just he has the coolest intro too in that
He does.
in that movie. They go into
yeah,
because
the-
everyone has their own.
The door and the big.
Well, yeah, like they go. Everyone has their own introduction, and when you get that's really fitting their personality. And George's, they go into his room, which is like this like other dimension, and he's standing on top of a mountain with his like hair blowing in the wind, and he's just like, "Hello."
Yeah. Paul has such a Paul intro.
Yeah, where he's just a man of the people.
He like walks out, and people are cheering, and they throw him like a thing of like
Roses,
flowers, and
yeah.
he fixes his
Mhm.
his tie. Or
Very
whatever.
Bondian.
Yeah, but either you guys do anything cool, out of the ordinary? I know Chris and I saw Big Trouble.
Yeah. We got to do a special screening of Big Trouble in Little China at Fairfax Corner, one of the fancy theaters around here. It was real fun. It was the first time I got to see it on a big screen. Granted, we were sitting so far away that it might as well have been the same screen that we're looking at here.
I was pleasantly surprised. I was wondering if we were going to be the only ones in the theater.
Yeah, I was like, either it's going to be packed because who knows, maybe there is a big contingent of people like us in the area, or we're going to be the only ones in the theater. Like it's a movie that's just been there for far too long. Like when I saw Return of the King, and I was like the only one in the theater.
But yeah, I mean that's
there was a smattering of people.
Yeah, it was a healthy amount for a Thursday or Wednesday at 7.
Yeah,
yeah.
But it was cool. I love getting a chance to see older movies or movies that I would have missed the actual theatrical release because of age or whatever. I love seeing them in theaters and getting the whole movie theater experience. Like I don't know about you, but I'm such a cinephile. Like I love
it's an experience.
Yeah, I love the ridiculous sound. I love the surround.
Smell
I love
of popcorn.
Giant screen. Sitting on an uncomfortable chair.
Yeah, get on Fairfax Town Center's level corner.
Yeah. Or Centerville's.
Yeah, but the
Centerville.
Big Trouble in Little China is one of those movies that every time I watch it, I feel like I pick up something I didn't notice before. Mm-hmm. And I certainly had that experience. Like, I don't notice you see Lo Pan in, like, civilian clothing.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Well, yeah, in civilian clothing before
scared Sam.
before the I was like, oh, before the big funeral fight.
Yeah, that was something that I like in the theater. I was like, oh! Never seen him.
Yeah.
Granted, I think
to the point where I was wondering, did they insert new material?
Yeah. Well, I think every time I've seen it, I've forgotten the actor who plays Lo Pan until like he shows up in full like ceremonial dress and then gets hit by the semi. Which always bothered me because like they make such a big point about how he drove right through him, but in the shot you see him get hit and fall down, and like okay, he's standing, on the other end of the truck, but he still got hit. He's not ghost-like.
Yeah, he doesn't pass through like he does with the walls.
Yeah, but seeing him right there, right like almost right at the beginning of the movie, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, that's a movie. I mean, we're pretty book solid, and I actually went over the commentary schedule with Chris for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. We're pretty book solid, but at some point, if at all, we get an open window, I would love to do commentaries for certainly the Beatles films, but definitely Big Trouble in Little China. That would be a lot of fun because that may be my favorite Carpenter film. Like it's up there.
It's up there. I think I'm always going to go with The Thing if we're talking about favorite Carpenter movies, but. Like it's
tough though
when
you really start to think about it, because I was like, yeah, definitely The Thing, but I'm like, but Halloween, Escape from New York. Crap.
Escape from L.A.
Assault on Precinct
I own
13.
it, but yeah.
That's the only escape movie that I own.
Okay, nice.
Really? Well, I guess there's
Yeah,
a
I mean,
50-50 shot.
that's a Chris thing. That's
Yeah.
a good Chris.
I would love for them to make Escape from Chicago because they reference it in New York
Yeah.
or in L.A.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's what
I'd
he
probably
does
choose
usually.
John Carpenter's Vampires.
There
Oh,
you
with
go,
James
there you go.
Woods? Yeah.
Yes.
And one of the Baldwins, Billy Baldwin, I think.
Maybe Steven.
Steven?
I think it's Steven.
Fighting it.
Oh yeah, no, Billy Baldwin's the one that was in Biodome, right?
Yeah, no, it's
So,
Stephen Baldwin.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just a slime ball in it.
And then the sequel, John Carpenter's Vampires Deos de los Muertos,
yeah.
starring Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Now, I will say,
It's all right.
for those of you at home who've never seen it, Big Trouble in Little China is on Netflix, and so is John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Is that the one with Ice Cube?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it had like Eminem on the soundtrack, and I was just like, that means in the editing bay, John Carpenter sitting there listening to Eminem just being like, yeah, this is gonna be good.
to the
You know what? I could write my own song like I did for Big Trouble in Little China, but
Eminem.
the El Caminos don't need to come back. We have Eminem.
Yeah. Jason Statham's in that film. It's a
It's been so long since I've seen that
I'm
movie.
still quite a little bit unsure of exactly what the real villain of that film is, other than the film.
I think John Carpenter's even confused.
yeah. That was the
As
last.
much as I love him.
That was the last movie I remember. I guess there was The Ward with Amber Heard a couple of years ago, but that was
yeah.
that was the last major John Carpenter, like John Carpenter's X, whichever. Him and Wes Craven are bigger, I think, than their movies are now.
He certainly went out on
Sure.
an interesting note.
Oh, with the Ward or
No,
or
with Ghosts of Mars.
Ghosts of Mars.
I don't
Yeah.
even remember what The Ward is about.
The Ward is about Amber Heard's basically. Think Sucker Punch, but without the cool hallucination like worlds.
But that's what made Sucker Punch good.
Right.
So it's
That's
basically
why
So
I
the
own
words.
Sucker Punch.
So the Ward's worse.
Yeah.
so it's basically all the depressing parts of the film.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
When you put
Check
it like
it
that,
out.
yes.
I bought Total Recall on Laserdisc.
Oh, fantastic.
Since like last week we were watching, I was watching True Lies when all of you got here on Laserdisc, and
Yeah, we've talked about the possibility of doing Schwarzenegger Legends.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna get Total Recall, and then I looked for The Running Man, but I couldn't find a good sale on eBay. Because I'm very stingy. Like, I love Laserdiscs, but it's really hard to get me to pay more than $10 for a movie.
Yeah, you got to really
Yeah,
dig it.
unless it's like the Evil Dead 2 red, blood red disc,
Or E.T.
or or E.T. with the deleted scene featuring Harrison Ford.
Which is the only format,
Mm-hmm.
I think, that has that.
Yeah, I mean, you can find it on YouTube. So, like, I've seen it, even though I haven't taken E.T. Laserdisc out of its plastic, but I've
Yeah.
seen the scene, and now I like own it.
well, it's
Yeah.
also going to be one of the very few formats where Spielberg didn't go back in and change things.
Yeah, I mean the Blu-ray's untouched too.
You get
because
you get the option.
Yeah, he came out and apologized, unlike George Lucas, who was like, "No, I'm right."
Everyone loves my changes, right? And then when everyone, like, I think somebody asked him why he doesn't write another Indiana Jones movie, and he's like, why would I go back and write a movie when everybody hates on it? It's like, I don't know, maybe write fucking better. That's like an easy answer, I would think.
Not easy enough.
Apparently not. I mean, he's just like, and apparently Disney rejected all his ideas for Episode 7. Like, he came, when the sale of Lucasfilm to Disney first happened 3 years ago, it was right around the time Jake and I first met, because I remember we were hanging out at the Caribou Coffee plotting our Cinema Circus, and TJ had sent us both a text being like, dude, Disney just bought Lucas, and they're going to do Episode 7 in like 3 years. And here we are 3 years later.
Yeah.
And they have done it.
Yeah, but originally, as part of the deal, they hired George Lucas on as creative consultant. He's not consulting anymore. Like, they were just like, they basically got his ideas and were like, thanks.
Pat him on the head.
Yeah.
Oh, good job, George.
Yeah,
Good
we'll
job,
just put it on the refrigerator right here.
We'll still have you as like credit for creating the characters.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, they've now also officially confirmed that they are moving forward with another Indiana George film as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is
Not
it
even in scripting, though.
Is it official who they've casted, or is it still just speculation?
No, just
that
the
it
head
could
of
be Chris Pratt.
Just the head of Lucasfilm saying, yes, we will be continuing the Indiana Jones franchise, no, we don't have any more news for you.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Quickest little press conference ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Yeah,
I'm all for Indiana Jones.
I always like
I
Indiana
have
Jones.
all 3 of them on Laserdisc.
Now, here's the thing. Original trilogy Star Wars or original trilogy Indiana Jones?
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Ah.
Clean split.
Yeah.
Yes,
There we
I
go.
think you have with the original trilogy of Star Wars, you have 3 solid movies, whereas Indiana Jones, like as much as I love certain aspects of Temple of Doom, overall I say thumbs down.
Because of Willie? Is that what brings it down for you?
Yes, almost unanimous. Every time she is on the screen, I'm just like, we're not sinking, we're crashing, bugs.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I hate the water, and I hate falling, and I hate you.
Yeah, the death metal growl.
Yeah, it's basically the Jar Jar Binks of those films.
Yeah.
The other 2 movies, love them to death.
Yeah.
Love them to death. And Temple of Doom has some cool elements. Like I love the mining carts chase.
Yeah.
I love the the flaming heart shit. That's
Yeah.
metal as hell.
Yeah.
And, like the room, the spears, and
drawbridge
gonna get
fight?
crushed. The drawbridge fight.
Yeah.
Ah,
Or suspension bridge or whatever the
Whatever
fuck kind of
it is,
bridge.
yeah.
That bridge.
The trials to get the, I guess you could call it the Fountain of Youth.
sure, yeah.
The Holy Grail.
That yeah.
That's
That's
in-
Last
Last
Crusade.
Crusade.
though.
Last Crusade.
Last Crusade. No, Last Crusade. I think is a great movie.
Last
Yeah.
Crusade
That's-
rivals
It's
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
personally, it's my favorite.
It's a coin toss for me. And honestly, I've always made this argument. This is technically the better film, but I enjoy this one more. Technically
George
Rocky.
Lucas fighting himself.
Yeah, technically Rocky is the best Rocky movie, but I dig Rocky 3. Technically Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best Indiana Jones movie. But I think I enjoy Last Crusade the most.
Well, here's the thing about Raiders. Like, I take Raiders over any Star Wars movie. Like, that's how much I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, that's one of my favorite movies of all time. Because I think it
Still
just
can't beat Greatest Adventures on the Super Nintendo though.
Well, no, God, we started playing that game, and I was just like, nope. And I think I've been. It's more worse for the wear with like the way games are now, where like you get hit and your health can come back if you just hide behind a rock, or whatever.
Yeah.
This one, it's like just nonstop.
I mean, you saw me
nonstop.
play Super Star Wars.
I mean, one of these days, Sam, we're gonna sit down and we're just gonna hash it out, and we're just gonna do it. We're gonna, you're gonna at least beat one Star Wars game, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna at least beat the first level of Indiana Jones. But I mean, it's still fun. I mean, they're super frustrating, but yeah, for me, Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of those movies that, there's very, very few movies for me that beat Raiders of the Lost Ark as much as I love that movie. Although I remember 2 things about that movie that scarred me for life was the tarantulas in the beginning, which terrified me as a child, so much so that I don't remember this, but we'd rented it or whatever, and that scene comes, the senor. He turns around, and I ran up to the VCR and I turned it off and took the tape out and vowed never to watch this movie again, according to my dad.
And then he went on to play Doc Ock.
Yeah, right. And then supposedly that was like one of the first days of filming too. Like they're like, "Hey, we're just gonna dump spiders on you. Have fun."
Oh, good.
And
Welcome to Hollywood.
yeah, welcome to Hollywood. But then, of course, the face melting in the end and exploding and drying out. I was just like, "What the hell? This is insane."
That's my favorite scene.
It's
in the
so
whole
metal.
movie.
You can buy a candle where
yeah.
their faces melt.
and like layered.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen it.
Honestly, the only thing about Raiders, I still kind of look away when the Angel of Death reveals his face.
Well,
Yeah.
way
because,
the
because your
music
face
change-
is gonna melt.
Well, I'm perfectly fine with like all the gore and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay.
Well, I just wasn't expecting as a child. I wasn't expecting to see a face melt. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, the John Williams score when it's like na 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 na, and it's all like beautiful, and then the face turns like it's beautiful, and then you just hear the tan tan tan, and then the face turns into the Angel of Death, and like the look on their faces and like the way that they're like screaming, it's insane.
Well, the one like Nazi,
Yeah.
like his face before he even like is affected, like
yeah.
It's already terrifying.
I don't know how you could replicate that
Well,
face.
it's
where
like
just,
yeah, it's like they told him, make a face like your face is gonna melt, but then they just kept the
Well,
camera
he's
on
the
a
one
couple,
that-
that dries out. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
he's the one that shrivels up. He's like,
Either way, make the face that's gonna shrivel up. Yeah, Elton John, the Elton John Nazi is the one.
Elton
that's,
John Nazi melts,
melts.
and then Belloc, Paul Freeman,
Yeah.
the guy from
Ivan Ooze.
Ooze, or the guy from Double Team.
By the way, quick side note. A couple weeks ago, I was rewatching the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, and I tweeted about how, like, you might remember him as Belloc, but I'll always remember Paul Freeman as Ivan Ooze, and like just sent that out on the ether, and I feel bad because I can't remember her name, but I got a favorite on it, randomly, 2 weeks after I posted it, and I was like, who's this? And like every once in a while I get curious, and like when I get random people favoriting or retweeting something, I do a little sleuthing. So I click on the profile and it says like ex actress, and like it's an older woman, and I'm like, oh, and I like do a Google search on it. One of Paul Freeman's ex-wives.
awkward.
Still Google it, like Twitter searching her husband.
yeah. Anyone saying any shit?
Yeah.
It's like this is
They will remember him for Raiders.
passive-aggressive.
Yeah, they'll never remember him for Raiders.
Yeah.
Oh well, Sam is Twitter best friends with Todd McFarlane.
Well, we had a mini convo, just like because he's gonna be at New York Comic Con this year.
Yeah.
So if there's ever a reason to go to New York
I
Comic
need to go.
Yeah, that's like he's going to be there all 4 days, and I'm just going to talk to him about baseball.
Well, the funny thing is,
maybe I'll get my Spawn book back.
Yeah.
From
Oh,
you and
yeah,
get him
yeah.
to
yeah.
sign it.
Sam had had tweeted me, but he had kept Tom McFarlane like, hey, he's going to be there all 4 days, and Tom McFarlane wrote back to both of us like, yep, like I was like, yeah. But then the funny thing is, he deleted me out of the conversation and kept talking to Sam.
Ooh.
I was like, Todd, man, come on.
Don't tweet block me, man.
I watched Spawn the animated series, bro.
I mean, if we're going to be completely honest, Jake is the bigger Todd McFarlane fan.
Yeah.
You hurt my feelings, Todd.
I'm just like, oh, cool. Todd McFarlane's going to be at New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah, let's talk to this guy.
Yeah. I was like, I want to talk
This
about
is your
baseball.
treat for noticing me,
Yeah.
Sam.
I was like, I want to talk about baseball too, and then nothing from Todd. One of these days, Todd.
Yeah, Brian Bendis is going to be at Special Edition next
Nice,
month.
nice.
Like, I thought he was con-retired, so I'm going to talk to him about Powers, but probably not, because I haven't actually watched the show yet.
I'm still super behind.
Are they
They got picked
are
up
they
though,
done
right?
with it?
I think
They
Josh.
did
Are
finish.
done with the first season?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
first season is
Oh,
complete.
cool. So I can get my free 2-week trial of PSN and watch the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
I'm still keeping my fingers crossed that it's actually going to get a retail release.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, even House of Cards, you would think something as big as Netflix would be like, we don't have to put our product.
I don't care for horse flesh.
Yeah. Second episode in a row you've made that reference.
Sorry, I heard that voice and it triggered something in my brain. And I was like, I'm gonna say it.
But you would think something as big as Netflix would be like, we don't have to put like House of Cards.
Netflix is one man.
Yeah, just we don't.
And it's
Yeah.
it's the guy from Foxcatcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Steve Carell playing.
They just
DuPont
program.
from
They
Fox.
just program. He just they program the shows into his mind, and he just sends it out through the waves.
I will say,
You
if
could call me Netflix.
yeah, my friends
Flix.
call me. Flix. You can call me Coach. But the if they ever put Foxcatcher on Netflix, I swear to God, I'll actually watch it.
I'll
hear
hold you to that.
Foxcatcher?
Yeah.
You hear that, Netflix?
Yeah, I'll actually do it, and I'll actually stay. I won't do that thing where I like put it on in the background while I like go to the gym.
Maybe you can come over here and I can watch it with you.
Yeah. Well, Jake has apparently already seen it with my eyes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I was just like, it's like he had implanted his mind into mine, and the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, shut up, Sam, and he's just like, stop laughing.
Actually, you know what? I feel like that would be a great like blind commentary.
But if that happens, then I've got to bring over my copy of The Best Marigold Hotel for Chris to finally watch.
Yeah. I still haven't, even though
As long as it's not Grand Budapest.
yeah, or second best exotic Marigold Hotel.
Yeah.
Which means
I think he wants to actually just show me both movies, so he merged the two titles.
Yeah.
Oh man.
the Grand Best Marigold Hotel.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen either of the Marigolds. I mean, it looks like what happens to British actors when they like die. They go,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's their heaven to be cast in a Best Exotic Marigold Hotel film. Has Maggie Smith ever been young? Like, I know Judi Dench has been young.
Has she?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she just was like thrown into Hollywood looking like that.
I was amazed that Malcolm McDowell was young
Yeah.
for 2 movies.
And then he like ages like City Miles on Malcolm McDowell or something. I feel like Terrence Stamp was always at least middle-aged as well.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Now, in terms of, I know there's been some TV announcements. I know, Constantine got canceled.
Well, it's still trying to survive.
Okay, so NBC said, or is Fox?
NBC.
Yeah, Gotham is Fox. NBC said no to season 2.
Yeah.
Constantine, the entity, or the show, or whatever, is still trying to shop around to find out if it can get a second season somewhere else.
While
Funny
everyone's
enough,
under contract.
Stephen Amell, the great voiceover actor of Arrow, has said that he will even make a crossover episode happen if a network is willing to pick it up.
I'm Constantine. I fight demons. I've got to become something else.
I've got to become someone else. But the
a successful network star?
yeah, well here's the shots fired.
And that was Josh saying it. I mean, I love the show too, but no one in my circle has been more like pro Constantine than Josh.
I would say it's the best non CW DC comic show, which I guess there's only 2?
Gotham and
Constantine, because iZombie CW and that just
soon to be Supergirl.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that got picked up for a full season. iZombies got renewed for season 2, for a full season 2 because it was only a half season order for.
They announced Gotham yet? I can't remember.
Yeah, Gotham's been renewed.
Good.
Yay!
Get my favorite of the the handful of.
Get another year of.
Just
Josh
wait till the voiceovers start next season. Chris.
No, because it's not a CW show. They're not going to do something stupid like that.
Oh,
Even
I get to see
iZombie has
Jim
that
Gordon
fucking,
start
voiceover.
doing that.
You want Jim Gordon to start doing that?
He just turned into Andy Serkis from Jonathan on the Apes.
That's how he
Jim.
As much as I love Gotham, the Jim Gordon on that show suffers from the CW like fucking sounding like a gorilla.
Always looking confused.
Yeah, like the same thing.
Colton
that happened,
Haynes syndrome.
Yeah, the same thing that happened to Supernatural. Same thing that happens on Arrow. I'm amazed it doesn't happen on The Flash. But then again, it would probably be like,
yeah. But from what I understand, The Flash is the best show.
It is on the CW. It's
Without
the best.
doubt. Yeah, without a doubt.
I hear it's the best current DC show. Period. I haven't seen it yet.
I'd go that far.
I don't know.
If iZombie isn't like an
perverse
official
love
DC
of Gotham.
title, then yeah, I'd say so.
I count DC or iZombie.
Yeah, iZombie's DC.
Yeah, because it's from
It's
Vertigo.
DC enough.
Just like
it's
Constantine's Vertigo.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
iZombie's fantastic, but
yeah, but like DC proper.
But if you're counting Constantine, you gotta count iZombie. They're both Vertigo.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Watch Josh
Constantine.
struggle.
I don't know.
Constantine had a new 52 run for a little while.
Sam, do you know about your comic books? Yes, Sam knows about his comic books.
Orphan Black comic book.
I've never actually read a Doctor Who. Does the Doctor Who comic sell well?
we have subscribers for it, but it sits on the rack.
It just sits there.
Yeah.
Well, I remember a lady
I'm not
came in.
surprised.
A lady came in when they announced the 9th Doctor series. And she was like, "Oh, the 9th Doctor series. Won't be getting that." And I was like, "Dang.
Ouch. He's my doctor.
Well, it's fun because now that
If only they have an 8th Doctor series.
now that I've been
feel
watching,
like there have been 8th Doctor comics. Well, not like a full-on
There's
ongoing.
been 8th
but-
Doctor radio drama
Yeah, that's about it.
played by the 8th Doctor.
Yeah.
well, now that I've been watching
Paul
some
Megan.
Doctor Who, it's funny because like
The best Doctor.
a lot of people will walk into the shop wearing Doctor Who shirts, and I'll be like, "Oh, I watch Doctor Who now," and they'll just be like, "Big fucking deal."
Everyone watches Doctor Who.
Check out my shit and get on my face. No, but like this one lady was wearing a Doctor Who shirt.
Tell him,
I was
Steve
like,
Dave.
hey, I watch Doctor Who. And she was like, "Oh, cool." And I was like, "Yeah, I just started watching." She's like, "You watch from like the beginning, or you start with Eccleston?" And I was like, "I'm watching the Matt Smith stuff." She's like, "Matt Smith is easily my least favorite Doctor in the entire series." I was like, "All right, well,
Wow.
that's what I'm
Worse
watching.
than 7.
That's what I'm watching right now." She's like,
Worse than 6.
"So it's 6-1 with the."
Technicolor Dreamcoat.
That's my favorite. Still, I haven't seen an episode yet. That's my favorite. I gotta stick with
Be
it.
prepared to
As
be
long as it's not
disappointed.
Celery Man.
He's the only one who's not on Netflix, right?
Yeah, of all because they have the classic Doctor Who, and there's a smattering of episodes from each Doctor except for Colin Baker. And it's like, oh.
Gee, what a shame.
And I guess
It's the
Paul
one that
McGann,
ruined the
because he
show.
has the
The
one-off.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Best movie.
you don't get your Eric Roberts master either. But
But-
yeah.
You don't get a frill shirt doctor. Is it right? He's the one that had the frill shirt.
I feel like third has frills too.
Well, yeah, but that was the style.
Yeah.
I'm making
70s.
fun of
Well-
Paul McGann.
I mean, if we wanted to go technical, 8 is more of just really a Halloween costume.
Aren't they all?
No, I mean,
Not-
8 is
not
literally
nine.
a
Nine looks like
Halloween
U-boat
costume.
captain.
I was psyched to get to the Lizardmen episode that we watched because there's this and again I'm sorry I don't know their actual names.
It's fine.
The
The
Silurians.
Solarians. And one incredible prosthetics on the face.
Yeah.
Like really solid. And I like their masks are really cool too. But we had this little like figure at the shop. We had like Doctor Who blind boxes, and we keep some out just so hey, if you want to trade, you can get this guy, whatever. And he's been sitting there for like ever. And when the episode started and they walked in, I was like, that's the guy. That's the little guy that we have. So I immediately grabbed him, and he's just sitting by the computer now.
So you walked into the store and you turned into Captain America from the Avengers movie, and you're like, I get that.
I get that
reference.
one. I get this. Guys, I know what this is. And they're like, who? I was like, it's a lizard guy whose name I don't know, but it was in an episode of Doctor Who that I watched, I promise. And they're like, all right, whatever.
Well, the cool thing is that that species, there's a character that pops up a couple times later on in the show.
Honestly, I feel like the Silurian episodes from the first Matt Smith season are probably the weakest episodes.
I mean, it wasn't a
in the
good.
first Matt
It was
Smith
the episode
season.
was not good, but it was psyched to see them.
I would rather watch The Vampires of Venice.
I like the
This is
end.
the first appearance of Karen Gillan, right? Or no.
No.
No. Sorry. That's Pompeii.
Yeah.
She the
Tenet episode,
the
yeah.
end of the Silurian episode was
Cerulean Blue.
yeah with
Cerulean City.
spoilers. What happens
Close
to
enough.
Rory though? That was some intense stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't worth watching 2 episodes of it, but
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was an interesting payoff of that episode.
It's all right. In his second season, there's the Flesh, and that's story is not worth watching 2 episodes of.
I mean,
either.
I was
Yeah.
it clearly could have been 1 episode.
Mhm.
Like there's a lot of like just walking around.
a lot of fluff.
Yeah.
Chuffa, as Bruce Willis would put it.
Yes.
So-
Speaking of which, I really want to watch Cop Out again. I don't know why, but like listening to like a whole bunch of Kevin Smith's podcasts and how apologetic he is for Cop Out, I'm like, I remember not hating Cop Out.
I don't think it's as bad as he makes it out to be, but I think it's his most poorly directed film.
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably the biggest cop out. It's like it's probably the one where he like quote unquote sells out the most.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that, but it is in no way a bad movie.
I think it's the only time he's directed a film that he hasn't written either.
Yeah, I think that's true. So.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would assume that is a factual statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do anything interesting, Josh? Watch anything interesting? Play
I
anything
discovered
interesting?
goat porn, and that was
Watch him spread them cheeks. Bah.
I wasn't
They
sick to my
really-
stomach before. I am now.
they really will eat anything, guys. Got Loot Crate, right?
Yeah.
You got your Loot Crate box?
That's actually the last one. I
Ooh.
got.
Oh, you're
The final loot.
You're discontinuing?
For the time being,
Yeah.
their selection has not really been worth the value.
What's the coolest thing you've ever
But
got from a
I
Loot
got
Crate?
this Spy Mad Libs from you.
The coolest thing I ever got from a Loot Crate was probably the one for February where I got a copy of Ready Player One.
That book is so good.
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
a-
wait for the movie.
That's a good crate.
Yeah, because it came right around the time of my birthday.
Yeah. By the way, just in case anyone hears the rummaging in the background, Josh brought his last Loot Crate to share the spoils with us, and I was letting Sam look at it.
Just kind of pilfered through.
Yeah.
Ruffle.
During some downtime during the show.
Yeah. So yeah, how long had you been subscribed to Loot Crate?
For almost about a year, maybe a year and a half.
And it sounds like a really cool deal. I don't know if I would be super psyched about it because I already have enough crap.
They don't
laying
come with
around.
Laserdisc, do they?
Yeah,
They don't
right?
have
Oh,
Laserdisc
God,
edition.
if there was a Laserdisc Loot Crate.
Well, the thing with Loot Crate is it's among one of many sort of like mass merchandise subscription services that you can belong to. There's like Nerd Block and a bunch of others. The problem with Loot Crate, unlike, say, maybe Nerd Block, is you don't get to choose what comes in them. It's basically a blind box based around a theme for the month that is coming up.
Yeah, I remember looking into one of the other ones. Maybe a Nerd Block, but it was like you filled out like a little thing of like, what are your top interests, and like they kind of tailored the box to you.
Yeah,
like there was still like it was still a relatively blind box, but like they at least cared about like what your specific interests are. Whereas like Loot Crate just kind of is like here's a lot of stuff that we have to send out to people, which is still cool,
right?
But I agree. There's probably several months where you're just like, well, I don't care about any of this.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's a decision that you'd kind of thought about for a while, and you're just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
For the time being.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's fair.
And that's a good way to save money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I don't
definitely.
get single issues of comic books anymore.
Yeah. I'm certainly kind of phasing them out. I'm taking the opportunity of Convergence and Secret Wars to kind of reduce the amount of monthly titles I pick up.
Speaking of which, Secret Wars, haven't they done that before? What's going on with Secret Wars?
So Secret War in 1985 was the first Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm. Is that when Spider-Man got the black suit?
It is.
Yeah.
It's basically when it was a tie-in with Hasbro to basically promote, because the 80s were when action figures first really started doing gangbuster business, and it was a way for Marvel Comics to hand over fist business. It was a way for hand over fist,
Like hotcakes.
Oh, hotcakes! Oh,
We really need to start a drinking game with these sayings.
Yeah.
And then by the end, Sam will just be like, I hate you all.
Yeah. Well, it would be a drinking game where only we play, and by the end of it, I'm just like I usually am when I'm tipsy, just like basically like kind of like passed out to the side. Hey guys, but the
Well, the listeners at home could
This
take
is
part.
for
Yeah.
you.
morph. Yeah. But the the original Secret Wars tie into a Hasbro action figure line, or a way to create a Hasbro action figure line, was basically just an excuse to take Marvel's marquee heroes and marquee villains and whisk them off on this alien world known as Battle World, and have them beat the shit out of each other. And in the process, Spider-Man gets a new suit, and that's really the only consequence. There is a sequel to Secret Wars in the late 80s called Secret Wars 2, where the guy that created it, the Beyonder, comes to Earth and it's like, oh, isn't this cool? And Daredevil, you can have your sight back. And oh, you look stupid, but I'm gonna like he turns the Heroes for Hire headquarters gold, because he's like, oh, you need money, even though Danny Rand's a billionaire. Here, your headquarters is now gold, and it's just a really stupid fucking series. But
It's like, oh, good, now our building is gold, and we have to chip it away when we want to buy things.
Yeah, it was, honestly, I don't really recommend Secret Wars 2, and this is coming from someone that has it. But the
Take it from Sam.
Yeah.
He wasted money on it.
I suffer, so you don't. I hope you can suffer if you want.
But if you do, suffer in silence.
Yeah, the Secret Wars, this year's Secret Wars is a lot closer to the Crisis on Infinite Earths, in that it's basically Marvel getting rid of their multiverse and combining elements to make a new Marvel universe at the end of it. Has the first issue been selling well? Because at the time that we're releasing this, only one issue.
So I think it's been, to put it just for fun in terms of kind of verses. I think it's doing better than the first issue of Convergence. I think because the Secret Wars, like you were saying, it has a bit of a lineage to it and legacy to it. And again, it's funny because most people are like, I remember getting the original Secret Wars as a kid. It sucked. You know, it's like that kind of thing.
It really does, because there's a moment in the original.
It sucks. I'm going to buy this.
Yeah.
Well, there are people that are confused. That are like, wait, are they starting over? Because you get that great Alex Ross cover. You know, it's put together very nicely. But I think it's selling pretty
Just
well.
like Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah. But it's selling pretty well.
There's a moment in the original Secret Wars, because that story kind of sucks too, where the Thing, the Lizard, like the Spider-Man villain, the Lizard, and Machine Man play patty cake together. Like, that fucking happens. Like, they're, like, beating the shit out of each other. Like, the Wasp hooks up with Magneto for some reason because she thinks he has nice eyes. And they end up...
to be fair, he does.
Yeah, those baby blues. Not the fact that he's, like, this buff, like, 60-year-old man.
No one cares about that.
But,
I don't care.
yeah, just like, oh, bring it on, master of magnetism.
Mm.
They
go together because opposites attract.
They play patty cake. Like, if you've never read, I should write a Death and Return of Superman style script.
Yes.
For Secret Wars.
Yes. Then I won't have to read it.
Yeah, I'll pass it along and
I'll be the thing in our video.
just playing patty cake.
Yeah.
You know what?
Paint me orange.
You know what book actually is selling like crazy, and I think it all has to do. I mean, I don't think I know it has to do with Age of Ultron.
Rage of Ultron?
No. Well, I mean that's selling well. Civil War. Everyone's like gearing up because they know that's the next in line.
Just so they can be disappointed by how the two don't line up.
Well, I mean, again, it's. I think this is all speculation because we don't know, but I think
boy Josh.
Yeah.
With his cynicism.
God.
I think the basic premise will be the
Trim
same.
Next you'll tell me that episode you're not excited for episode 7.
Or Battlefront.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. Listen to the podcast.
Got smacked by Kevin.
But yeah, I
Worth
mean
it.
that one's selling well. Again, I love Mark Miller, but that's I'm not a huge fan of that story. Never been a huge fan.
Is it because of how not subtle it is? Like the fact that a firefighter, EMT, and police officer all jump on Captain America at once, and they're like, "Look, it's the real heroes." And they're like,
well,
what
it's
are you doing?
that, but also you get like moments where isn't it like Doctor Strange where he's like, "I could fix all this if I wanted, but I'm not going to."
Yeah,
and it for me it just proves like it just shows all these heroes
being so
no one taking
self-absorbed.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Kind of the defining theme of Civil War. No one taking responsibility for their action.
Like Iron Man, I suppose is trying.
Well, also, but here's the thing too. It's so clearly written in the book that Iron Man's supposed to be the bad guy, and I think that's not fair. I think there should be a give and take where each side has its own thing, but it's so clear that Captain America is the hero of Civil War.
Yeah. Because
Well, he's America.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it does get kind of really political in that book.
It's not subtle when the symbol of liberty is carted off at the end of the book in chains. What does that say?
Yeah. It's not the most stellar thing. I mean, it's a very interesting idea. The whole idea of like Speedball, like becoming this penance character, like this like super metal. I wear the spikes to remind me of the people I killed, kind of stuff.
I hated that.
But it's the idea of like this. What is it? It's the reality show, and then they accidentally blow up like a city block or whatever.
They blow up Jeff Loeb's hometown.
Yeah,
because when they were workshopping Civil War, Jeff Loeb, who wrote Commando and Teen Wolf and Long Halloween, like two,
and also a big figure in comic books.
Yeah. Hush, sure,
whatever.
Spider-Man Blue, Captain America White, which is finally coming out. He was like, "Oh, let's blow up my hometown," and Mark Miller was like, "Okay."
Yeah, I mean, again, I couldn't be happier with the team. Like Mark Miller and Steve McNiven are like fantastic.
It's got one of the coolest Punisher moments.
Yeah.
Where just like all you see is like the red sniper light as he takes out Jack-o'-lantern and the Jester. Just like Jack-o'-lantern's head turns into a smashed pumpkin. Just it's awesome.
Jack-o'-lantern gets fucked up, man. I remember he shows up in the is it Daniel Way's run of Ghost Rider?
Yes.
And Ghost Rider just
because he gets demonically possessed.
Yeah, Ghost Rider just fucking rocks
Daniel Way
him.
has a Ghost Rider run?
Yeah, it's really good.
It was my favorite Deadpool run.
Yeah, it's really good. You should check it out because then that leads you to the Jason Aaron Ghost Rider run, which, as we all say, is fucking titties. Titters. But
Josh.
Tits.
It's funny. Kevin Smith on one of the podcasts recently referred to something as fucking titties, and I remember being like, "Is that where I got it from, or is it just around?" Or
I got it from there was a guy in college. He would everything that was good, no matter what it was, he'd just be like, "Yo, that's tits."
yeah,
Yo, that's like everything.
I don't know where. It's just somewhere it became
I
a
mean,
thing.
Clearly, you just enjoy tits, so therefore you equate
gotta be.
good things to tits.
It's got to be, but. Yeah, Daniel Way and Jason Aaron's Ghost Rider is fucking titties. Really, really good stuff. You should check it out. I'm really excited for Ghost Racers.
Yeah, it's one of the miniseries that I'm actually that and Master of Kung Fu.
Get all the Ghost Riders together, just kicking ass.
Yeah, man, the Legion of Ghost Riders.
Legion of Ghost
so
Riders.
Cool. But so you're not. I know. Speaking of Civil War, they did announce the final cast. It's looking like it's basically going to be Avengers 2.5.
But why did they do that already? Like, why did they? Why did they do that already?
That have just been Avengers 2?
Well, I mean, no, but why did they already cast it? They already say everyone who's going to be in the movie. You know what I mean? That's kind of a bummer.
There might be some surprises like there was with what surprises were there in Age of Ultron? I guess Falcon.
I mean, I didn't know Falcon was going to be in it, but like,
or Heimdall.
I was so disappointed that Falcon was in Age of Ultron so little. Like when they showed him at the party, I was like, "Oh, cool, he's going to be in the movie." And then and fucking Don Cheadle is in like half the movie, so I was like, "Oh, why not Falcon?"
Yeah, why is he in the climax? He still works for S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
Yeah. Well, it's because he was such a late ad that they were like, "Oh, we can just do a couple reshoots with him."
Yeah. But Heimdall was a surprise.
That was
Idris
cool.
Elba.
Yeah, because that was originally supposed to be like kind of like Loki
doing
it, but I'm so glad. Like, sorry, fangirls, but I'm so glad that Tom Hiddleston wasn't in Age of Ultron.
Both said they filmed scenes for the film, but they no one knew exactly how that was going to work out in the film.
Yeah, I think Joss Whedon had it, because he's done a lot of press and he's been very revealing about how his like process of creating Age of Ultron has been. And he was like, in the original version of the when what's her name gets in Thor's head, Scarlet Witch gets in Thor's head. He's at this like party, and the person sitting on the throne, it's supposed to be Anthony Hopkins as Odin, but he sees Tom Hiddleston's Loki, and that's his subconscious telling him that not everything is all right back home, but it's a connection he wouldn't make consciously. But they decided to leave that, I guess, for Ragnarok.
Right.
So we'll, but
Ragnarok and roll.
Well, they're really, I mean, that could be the best Thor film.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm hoping that's that franchise's Winter Soldier. So we'll see where they go.
Yeah, I mean, if it follows how the Ragnarok myth for his universe would normally go about, yeah, I'd say that's going to be the best Thor film.
Now, Josh, you weren't part of our little hardy little band when we did the Marvel commentaries. How do you compare Dark World to the original?
The second Thor film to the first?
Which is your favorite Thor film?
Probably the first one. I felt Dark World was kind of a lot like how Iron Man 2 turned out. There was a lot going on. The story didn't flow very well.
Not enough Christopher Eccleston.
Not enough Zachary Levi.
Yeah.
In that movie, too. Yeah. He does a better job as Fandral than Josh Dallas.
Yeah, well,
I still think
they
that
wanted
Kenneth
him
Branagh
originally for
good.
that role, too.
Yeah, but was it Chuck that kept him from doing it?
Yeah, Chuck kept him from doing it, and then Josh Dallas on Once Upon a Time kept him from doing it for the second Thor film.
Those TV contracts, ironclad.
Yeah, well, kind of.
That's why that's why Timothy Dalton was Bond instead of Pierce Brosnan in the 80s.
It's also why Tom Selleck was in Indiana Jones.
Yep. Just can't get out.
I'm going to go ahead and say that was okay.
Yeah.
Like,
I've seen the screen test, yeah.
I don't think I would have
We've
enjoyed
seen the finished products
Indiana
of Harrison
Jones.
Ford. I'd say, they went with a better choice.
It was perfect for Harrison Ford.
He was almost too, like, Tom Selleck's Indiana Jones was almost too brusque. You watch it and he's just like, "Shut up, I'm Tom Selleck," and he's like going around.
I'm Tom Selleck. Did he still have the big mustache?
Yes.
Throw me the fucking idol. No, that's not his line, but throw me the fucking idol, I'll throw you the fucking whip, man.
Yeah. Why don't you go be in 3 Men
Marion,
Baby?
don't look at it.
Yeah.
Adios, Zapatos, you fucking little prick.
They're drunk.
Yeah,
the entire
Marion,
time,
look at it or don't look at it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, actually, Marion, do look at it.
Do look at it. Open
Your
your
Selleck
freaking
is
eyes.
spot on.
Thank you.
Here's
you.
the thing.
My grandma met Tom Selleck once.
Really? Was he nice?
Yeah, very nice. So I'm sorry, Tom Selleck.
Yeah. I
like Tom Selleck.
Yeah, I actually like Magnum P.I.
You know what? I don't think I've actually ever seen a single Tom Selleck movie.
You've never seen 3 Men and a
show.
Baby?
Oh, fantastic.
He's one of the 3 men?
Yeah.
Okay, then
I started-
then
he's the
I've
baby.
seen it. Then I have
Just
seen
a
at
giant
least
head with a
one.
mustache. Hey, fucking give me some milk, motherfucker.
Wait, was he
Gutenberg?
Was he the cop in Cop and a Half?
I never actually saw Cop and a Half.
It's a great
I
movie.
can't comment on that.
I started
look
watching,
that
was
up.
it Blue Bloods? I started watching some of that. It was on Netflix. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's Donnie Wahlberg and
My parents love that.
Yeah. I hear good things. Yeah.
he's good.
About the old Blue Bloods. But
So check out some Tom Selleck, why don't you?
Yeah, but apparently...
Pause this podcast and watch some Tom
Watch
Selleck.
some Tom Selleck.
Yeah, have a Tom Selleck. Legends of Tom Selleck. But yeah, it's looking like all the new Avengers are coming back.
Oh no, it was Burt Reynolds in Cop and a Half.
Another mustache man.
Yeah, I in hindsight, in my shitty memory, I do oft times confuse Tom Selleck and Burt Reynolds.
Both got the stash. Yeah. I have to say though, it's looking like. I just hope that Marvel doesn't forget that Civil War is technically a Captain America sequel.
Yeah.
You know? Like, though, just like, is Batman v Superman technically a Man of Steel sequel?
No. Cavill. I thought it was, but Cavill came out and said, "No, sir." Like they asked him, he's like, "This is not a Man of Steel sequel." So
very much its own thing.
Which I'm kind of bummed, man. I think we finally, and I've said it as freaking zillion times, but we finally got to see like Superman's now set up to be
in
Clark Kent and Superman. Like we could have see kind of him. His growing pains are over, so to speak, in terms of accidentally destroying a city, but not entirely his fault, kind of thing. It's mostly the military and General Zod. But, I don't know. So,
but who cares?
Oh, you want to hear something hilarious? This is so embarrassing. I was explaining to someone my favorite scene, and this is insanely embarrassing, but I was explaining to someone my favorite scene in Man of Steel, which is the scene where he's, like, on the other side of the world being, like, beat down by the whatever the thing is called. Gravity hammer. And it's that scene of, like, Perry White, and they all think they're going to be crushed, and like they're trying to pull everybody out. And there's that great shot where this is why you hire Lawrence Fishburne for a movie. He looks at what's her face, the girl, and the look in his eyes is like, "That's it. I'm sorry. Like I did my best, but we're just gonna have this moment, and we're gonna get crushed to death." And I was explaining to someone, I was like, Superman. Superman doesn't quit. Like, he knows he can't save everybody, but he still tries. In that scene, I'm telling someone the scene, and I immediately like got choked up, and I almost started crying, telling somebody. I pulled a Kevin Smith, and I made this noise to try to compensate for it, and I was like, and needless to say, that person will probably never be reading Superman ever again, because it hit me out of nowhere. Like I've told this story many times about like Superman, about like that great shot of him, like he's like literally being beaten down by this thing, and it's kind of a Fleischer-esque homage where he's like punching the quote unquote laser back into it, and he flies and like lets out that yell and crashes into it, not knowing if he's gonna live or die, but he knows he has to stop this thing from happening, which is why everyone's like, why isn't he fucking saving Metropolis? He has to take this thing out first. It's like trying to pour ketchup without taking the top off the bottle.
I will agree with you. Like one of my first when I was first kind of like being very critical of Man of Steel, I was like, why did he go after the one in the Indian Ocean first? Why didn't he save Metropolis? But then I was like, because he knows he's the only one that can get to that one fast enough. Yeah. Because everyone was in.
They did that first.
Yeah, everyone was like just off of the coast of Metropolis when they were like when the attack started. So he was like, "Okay, I'm going to fly to the other side of the world because I can be there in 2 seconds."
Yeah.
And you guys start working on this one. Once I'm done with this, because I know I can kick the shit out of this and then still have more oomph to take care of this one, I'll come back and give you guys backup.
Yeah, it's Feora
and then
that
kills
stops
on
them from. Well, they still managed to take out the gravity hammer in Metropolis, but it takes longer because of Feora, right?
Well, I thought him taking out the one on the other side of the world is what stops it.
Well, they both had to work in tandem.
That's right.
For
That's
the
right.
plan
Yeah,
to
for the
work.
plan. Yeah, okay.
But like it's still a threat to the city.
Yeah.
It gets sucked into the Phantom Zone.
But yeah.
But
taking out the one in Metropolis means fuck all if they didn't take the other one out on the other side of the world. And like you're saying, so it's one of those movies where it's like, I have problems with Man of Steel, but when people are like, "Yeah, Man of Steel sucks," I'm like, "Fuck you!" And this is why Man of Steel rules.
Just like Tusk.
So anyway, explaining to that guy, that guy, and I just like immediately made this like horrible. It sounded like Jim Norton being choked out on the Opie and Anthony show by Gina Carano. It's kind of like that, and I was just like, "I'm sorry, sorry." It's so embarrassing. I just love Superman, man.
I'm trying to think if there's any Superman moments where I'm kind of like, certainly I've talked about All-Star Superman #6, but I think the closest is at the end of Man of Steel when he's running around as a kid and he's got the, the kind of the makeshift cape on. And his dad sees him do it.
It's fantastic, and the music score and like there's plenty of scenes.
The second time I saw that film in theaters, at that scene, there was like a guy like maybe a row or two behind me who was audibly like,
yeah. Well, I told you that when I saw it the second time, when I'm gonna get choked up. I'm gonna do it. No, there was a kid sitting 2 or 3 rows in front of me, like an 8-year-old kid, and when he puts his hands on his, does a Superman pose, the little kid like was in total awe, and he goes, "It's Superman," And it was like the coolest thing. Like that's why it's there. Like everyone's like, well, does he know he's going to be Superman down the line? It's like, fuck you. It's just rules. That's why that little kid gets it. Yeah. Because he's not so entrapped about like
he's not so jaded.
Well, he's not, like what's the reality of the situation? Does he know?
The mind of a child.
Yeah, it just
or whatever Yoda says in Attack of the Clones about.
Yeah. The part in if we're talking about Superman movies that get us all choked up, I cannot watch the first Christopher Reeve Superman without getting a little when Pa Kent keels over.
Oh yeah,
God.
But
and then
just like All-Star
and Clark realizes that he can't save everyone.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think that's one of the reasons why I hate Pa Kent in The Man of Steel so much because I didn't get that emotional.
No, he's just like it's fine.
Well, it's that thing
there's
where
a tornado.
The
cool.
reason the heart attack is so devastating is because that's something Superman with all his powers. Like he's that great line, like, all those powers, and I couldn't save him.
Yeah,
he could have
saved him from a tornado.
Well, another thing because I've rewatched the Superman movies every so often. I got them on Blu-ray a little while ago, and the scene that like first, it's always a great scene, but the scene that like floored me the second time, not the second time, but watching it on Blu-ray with these for the first time was the scene it's kind of after that where he realizes he has to go and basically make the Fortress of Solitude and figure out who he is, and there's a great shot, like the way it's filmed, just like the wide shot of just this beautiful countryside, and it's Ma Kent realizing she has to say goodbye. Like she has to now let Clark, the rest of the world, she has to share Clark with her son now. And the way that whole shot is like played out in that scene, it's like one of the most beautiful scenes in the movie. And for some reason as a kid, it never, it's like, oh, okay, let's get the Superman. But I don't know, now it's just this like really wonderful, fantastic
when you're
moment.
A kid, you're like, come on, let's get to Tights and Flights.
Let's get to Tights and Flights. Well, speaking of All-Star Superman, 6 is like an astoundingly powerful issue. But another issue
doesn't get included in the animated feature.
It doesn't, and it's a bummer because it's one of the best. But the thing that one of my favorite moments, and a lot of times I don't remember if it was IGN or what site it was. This is the top Superman moments of all time. Was from Man of Steel All-Star Superman, where he's talking to Lois. It's getting closer. He knows he's got to die soon. He's got a lot of stuff to do, a lot of stuff he wants to do before he dies, and he hears a girl on the phone. And she has tried to call her doctor, and the doctor's not answering. And she's standing on the edge of a skyscraper. She's going to kill herself. And Superman goes he's got the weight of the world pushing him down because he's about to die and he has so much to do. And he takes the time to go stop this girl. And he's like shows up behind her. There's that great shot. Whenever Superman's standing in front of somebody, like he's just this big, powerful but not scary presence. With the S behind behind her head. And he's like, your doctor really was held up. There's always, you're always just, there's always someone there for you. Like, you don't have to do this. And they embrace each other, like they hug on the top of this thing. And that's usually listed as like one of the top Superman moments.
According to Grant Morrison, it actually, people actually found solace in that to prevent themselves from.
Well, that's the thing. He goes, people ask about do Superman comics or just comics in general matter, and you're like, Superman saving people from the page through moments like that. They'll read an issue, and that's how Superman, the fictional character Superman, saves people.
There's a similar moment in Jeff Johns' Justice Society where Kingdom Come Superman comes to, and the Justice Society are keeping him locked in their headquarters because they're like, I don't know, just because he looks like Superman. We just got fucked over by a guy that looks like Superman in the Infinite Crisis.
They're just like whispering each other. Like,
well, the thing is, the way Jeff Johns has it, he can hear them all whispering that too. Yeah. So he's like, these assholes. and while he's listening to them basically talk shit about him behind his back, he can hear like this girl about to commit suicide on the other end of town. And so he basically busts through the Justice Society headquarters, and all the Justice Society guys are like, oh no, and he like runs him over. And then he like he comes up to this girl and he's like, Miss, giving up never really helped anybody.
Yeah.
And then they hug like they do in the All-Star. Like, yeah, I always love those.
He doesn't have to be fighting a giant mechanical gorilla
or spider.
Yeah, or spider.
Well, none of my favorites
for him to be Superman. Like it's beautiful, those tiny just touching moments where he's he's helping one person.
Yeah.
He's not saving the city, he's not saving the world, not saving the universe, just one person. Those Niagara Falls.
Yeah, it's worth it for him. You know?
But that's and then,
they are that important.
So many of my favorite moments, and there are moments here and there involving Superman that I love. I just love seeing him kick the shit out of some bad guy.
There's
that's
still
awesome.
a fuck
but
yeah moment.
A moment that mixes those two moments perfectly for me is in Superman Doomed, when Doomsday is just fucking shit up left and right, just fucking Doomsday, and
Now he's a lobster man and Doomed.
just crushing shit left and right. And
Josh was showing me that image, and I was like, he's a lobster.
he's like he's it's nothing in my way, he's gonna survive. And there's this like family there, like this like Mexican family, because they have like the way it's like translated or whatever. And he's getting closer and closer to this family, and the kid is like, fuck, we're gonna die. And Superman hears it, and he does that great shot of him just like rocketing right in. He lands right between Doomsday and the family, and he's standing there, and he's just like, because he's basically realized like, I'm gonna have to kill Doomsday.
Yeah,
like I have to do this. And of course he's still thinking, the million ways a second, like, is there any way I could do this without killing Doomsday? And he goes, I hesitate for a second until I hear the boy sob behind me, because he hears the boy crying, and he goes, I'll protect you. And then the next line is, I promise, as he uppercuts Doomsday into space and then takes off after him. And the shot of the kid looks up and he goes, wow. And then he just takes Doomsday from the planet to planet and fucking kills him. And it's awesome. I mean, Doomsday...
If I remember, he rips him in half.
Yeah. And then he ingests all the pores, and he's like, oh shit, Justice League, you have to kill me now. I'm turning into Doomsday. But like, the Superman Doomed for me was the turnaround of when Superman really started becoming cool in the New 52.
It's when Greg Pak started writing him.
Yeah.
And Greg Pak does phenomenal. He does the Lord's work with Superman on Action Comics. It's pretty
And then
sweet.
Jeff Johns' run. I mean, issue 39, I think, is one of those issues that people will go back to years from now.
But not issue 40.
Not issue 40. Sorry, John Romita Jr. I love your art, but it's not the best thing in the world.
Superman getting drunk and going to Rome to eat canoodles.
Spoilers.
But no, Superman 39 though it's a great issue where people are like, oh, well, he's the most powerful man in the universe. How does that make him interesting? It's boring. Read issue 39 of Jeff Johns' New 52 Superman. It's fantastic. So yeah, that's my story of how I basically almost broke down in front of a complete stranger talking to them about Man of Steel.
Nice. Nice.
Stranger things have happened. I mean, we've all voiced our opinions on the Superman films and Man of Steel in particular in one of our popular episodes, Superman Maybe, currently available on the website. Josh, what is your stance on Man of Steel and the Superman films in general?
I enjoyed the Christopher Reeves one.
Christopher Reeve. George Reeves.
Thank you. Thoroughly enjoyed Man of Steel, giving it a somewhat gritty, dark, modern reboot that DC films.
I was surprised. I was ready for you to just like rip Man of Steel a new one.
Man
of Steel's the worst.
From the conversation,
ever.
from the conversations we've had, I was just preparing for you to be like, Man of Steel.
There's moments
there's
moments I wonder where, in your eyes, if DC can do no right.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean,
Arrow.
I mean, if it has to come to crying moments of Superman, mine's it's not going to be Superman, but Captain America sacrificing himself in the first Avenger in the playing.
Yeah,
saying how he's not going to be able to make that dance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That waterfalls.
The Niagara Falls, as Chris puts it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, Man of Steel, it was probably showing how he is fallible. He can't save everyone. Not this, godlike character on film, more so than all of the other representations of him I've seen.
In hindsight, I think it's a good way to show he's still trying to figure out how to be Superman.
Yeah.
Like he's like more of like, just like, oh, if I punch it, it'll fix itself. And then he's like, oh, wait, there's collateral damage if I punch it.
Yeah, every single other time I've seen, the exception of Smallville, he's either figured everything out or it's all bright and sunshine, from even the Lois and Clark television show.
I love Lois and Clark, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it was...
Got the first season for $10 at Best Buy.
It was great, but it was more rainbows and sunshines and happy puppy dogs than actual...
Well, remember with the Christopher Reeve Superman, he's training in the Fortress of Solitude for 7 years.
Yeah, we just don't see it. But
we assume that he gets all of that, like, you can only hit this hard or stuff like that.
Yeah, just tap tap.
Krypton.
Krypton. Well, I know.
My son.
Speaking of like Superman punches, I know the one that Sam would always reference is the fantastic Superman punch against Darkseid in Justice League Unlimited.
To the point, that's another Sam drunk story.
Yeah, where just it
I'm just like, oh guys, what we have here is what does he say?
a rare moment for me to cut loose.
Yeah. What we have is an unexpected opportunity. You see, I live in a world of cardboard.
There it is. That's when I'm like, oh shit, he's fucking wasted.
Yeah. I live in a world of cardboard. I have to constantly be careful of what I say, what I touch, how I touch stuff. But with you big guy, I don't have that problem. What we have here is an opportunity for me to cut loose.
Yeah.
And he punches Darkseid so hard, time fucking stops in that episode. But
Well, I love when he rears back. And Darkseid's just like, oh shit, and he just hits him. And it's one of those hits where it doesn't happen in the cartoon, but like in any other movie, he'd hit and be like, hit it from like every angle. Yeah. And then he punches him so hard that he goes flying in the air through 6 buildings.
Yep.
And then, but right before he's like, just like, I'm free, Superman catches him. He spins back or flies all the way back and then hits him in the back, Roddy Piper style.
Seeing that, yeah.
And he goes flying into 100 feet into the ground.
Yeah, speaking of Total Recall, which Chris has just acquired on Blu-ray, Michael Ironside, Richter from Total Recall, is the guy that voices Darkseid in the DC animated universe.
And Superman is basically saying, welcome to the party, Richter.
Rips off his arm.
Rips off his arm.
But yeah, that's one of those. I don't know why I would always reference that drunk. It's probably because when I'm drunk, I have an opportunity to cut loose.
Yeah, this is rare for me to
it's
cut
like
loose
me.
and just vomit.
It's like me and Emerald Twilight, which is one of my drunk stories.
Yeah.
But
That was my fondest memory of that New York Comic-Con.
Oh, meeting Ron Mars, giving him a hug.
Yeah, and then like half hour previously, just going on an hour-long drunken rant about how awesome Emerald Twilight
Which
is.
Josh was there for too. We were at the I forget what the name of that restaurant was in Midtown.
As do I.
Yeah, it was a split
Same.
level bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot. I got to
There
talk
was a
to
lot of drinking, so
I brought Ron Mars a Cavassier. I bought Grand Marnier, and I bought Greg Rucka a pint of Guinness, and he was just like, yeah.
Although
and you tried to buy someone else drinks, but they were sober.
Rob Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead. I was like, yo, Kirkman, buy you a beer, and he's like, maybe next time. And I was like, okay.
I think that's the bar I walked into wearing my Red Sox hat, and the bouncer outside was like, dude, really? Really?
I mean, to be fair, I'm sure everywhere you went, they were
No,
at
that
least
was-
muttering that.
That was the one time someone was that vocal that entire trip about that hat.
Yeah, well,
That and that time that we were in the
not-
Bullet or the Bulletin.
Ted's Bolton?
Yeah, Ted's
Yeah.
Bulletin. After watching Ex Machina, and the guy was like, "Hey, I can't believe you're sitting with a Red Sox fan." It's like,
Oh,
well, we
yeah.
don't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Nats guy, and honestly, in terms of the Red Sox, as much as I love the Red Sox, I don't believe in the great Bambino curse. I do believe it's possible for your team to suck for over 80 years.
That's just what it was.
And it's been lifted, so whatever.
Yeah, twice. So we're cool, Red Sox. Yeah, it was, so that was. Yeah, I forget. You always wear the Red Sox hat, and that makes sense because you were walking through fucking New York City. If there's any one town
Trying to get beat up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bring it, nerds.
looking for a place to piss on the west side. I remember me and Chris were walking like from like Greenwich Village to like Midtown. You just had to like find a place to like take a piss, and we were just like, I don't know, man. I feel like
I should have just realized, wait, I'm in New York City.
Yeah. Walk down to the subway.
Yeah, have you smelled
Not
the subway
even
in the
that.
summer?
Just find a
I
brick
have.
wall.
Yeah. But that's a good radio right there. Yeah. But no, it's been how did we get on the soup? Oh, because
My embarrassing story about me almost breaking down in front of a stranger.
about Superman.
That's Superman.
Yeah.
And then Batman.
He's one of the
versus-
few that'll do it, man. I mean, I love all kinds of characters. Although, you know what? Here's something weird. The only comic book I've ever rolled a tear in, like reading, Martial Law. Out of all the comic books, and if you've never read Martial Law, you don't know about
S&M,
Martial
yeah.
Law. It's like, I love Judge Dredd, but Martial Law is the guy who could kick the fuck out of Judge Dredd, basically. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. But martial law is just like this insanely badass character. I'm not going to go into detail what it was. But I'm reading this, and I'm just like, this book's so badass, so badass. And there's just this like oddly touching, wonderful moment. And I was just like, a tear? A tear for martial law? But yeah, everyone should read martial law because he's freaking awesome. I remember I sent a thing to our friend Richard C. Meyer about it because I was like...
and at the time this podcast posts, you'll still have 2 days to back his Kickstarter.
Get on that Kickstarter, man. Back it.
Get a sketch.
And I was like, you know what? If you... I sent it to him. I was like, have you read this? And I wanted to be like, because if you haven't, this is like your... you know, you need to check it out. And he was like, oh yeah, I've read it. I was like, okay, good. Because I feel like that'd be... And well, because he had recommended me to read the G.I. Joe 155, the Snake Eyes when he writes the letter.
Is that the one where it's a Marvel border with Snake Eyes with a yellow background?
No, it's the one where they're folding the flag. It's the final the Marvel's final G.I. Joe issue.
Right.
And
Marvel had like all the awesome licenses in the 80s. They had Star Wars and they had G.I. Joe. Okay, I guess they just had 2, but they had Star Wars, they had G.I. Joe.
I mean, those are 2 massive ones.
Spider-Man.
But that was one where I remember I had sent him a thing and I was like, you must be, draw Snake Eyes a lot because you're a big fan. He's like, actually, I haven't drawn him in like a long time. And that's where I sent him that tweet. I was like, somebody back this for 2 reasons because it's fucking awesome and I want to see Richard C. Meyer draw Snake Eyes. But it's a fantastic issue. I mean, it's just... I don't know. I feel like sometimes G.I. Joe, people look at it as like just the toys, oh, it's a toy comic or whatever. But, you read some of that stuff like, Silent Interlude. And, my knowledge for G.I. Joe is so minimal. But 155, and I guess it's 21, the Silent Interlude issue. It's freaking awesome. Snake Eyes is almost like a perfect comic book character, though, even though he doesn't say a word.
He's great in the film.
He's the best part of the films. He is easily the best part of the films because...
Until you get The Rock.
Well, The Rock is awesome.
And then they are both the best parts of the film.
Yeah, Rock is better than Channing Tatum as a lead.
Yeah.
Franchise Viagra.
But yeah, Ray Park's badasses.
So what you're saying is he needs to come over to the Transformers series.
Yeah. Oh, man. Ugh. The Rock and Wahlberg.
How has there not been a... I mean, if studios are crossing franchises that don't even make fucking sense, like 21 Jump Street and Men in Black, when are we...
If you're about to say what I think you're about to say, I think they are trying to make that happen as well.
21 Jump Street and Men in Black?
You haven't heard about that?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Surprise.
But
I'm excited.
I mean, I'm going to see it.
We're all going to see it.
Yeah, but... Yeah, to answer what I was proposing, Josh, you can confirm if this is what I was talking about. G.I. Joe Transformers?
Yeah, when they start building the Transformers cinematic universe.
They haven't built that already?
Hang your head in shame for that one.
4 films deep. I mean, it's like...
The next one's going to be the launching point for it.
Serious?
Yes.
That's actually... exciting to me because I didn't really grow up so much with the Transformers. Like I watched the cartoon movie and I watched some of the animated series, sure, but I had G.I. Joe toys and shit.
Oh yeah.
Whereas I was more Transformers than G.I. Joe myself.
Yeah, they're now looking to put tiny little commando people battling against really big robots.
We've had that comic book.
Yeah.
In the comics, Ninja Turtles teamed up with Ghostbusters and it was awesome.
Well, anytime you have the Ghostbusters in something, it's awesome.
Trying to think of an exception to that. Cannot. The NES.
You might be right.
The NES and Sega Genesis game kind of sucked.
Most games of that period did.
But the Turtles game. Shots fired. Yeah, shots fired. Blood drawn. Blood on the ice. The
First blood.
Yeah. And last. The Turtles games for the NES were pretty fucking awesome. And the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis.
Turtles in Time.
Turtles in Time, the Hyperstone Heist.
Mind you, the person saying this is also currently wearing a turtle shirt.
Yes. What's another? The Batman 1989 game and Batman Returns game for the Super Nintendo.
Have the action figure of that character.
I have the Batman Returns action figure, which I can see.
Mm-hmm. It's somewhere. It keeps falling off the ledge that I put it on, but it's over there.
That's one of the few action figures I have from childhood that survived the great purge of when my mom was like, let's just donate them all. And I came home from school, and suddenly I didn't really have that many action figures anymore.
No, all the laws have been suspended.
All my action figures, all my comic books, no!
Yeah, my NES and SNES suffered that from my father.
Luckily, the video game element survived. That was never purged. Probably because my mom was like, "I paid a lot of money for these," and I was like, "Yes, you did. So thank you."
Whereas I never had to suffer through that because my dad suffered through that as a child. Like he went off to college, and his mom sold off all of his comic books, and he came home and was like, "What?" So I think he always remembered that in the back of his mind. So he was like, "We're never gonna just randomly sell off Chris's stuff. We'll encourage him to sell it himself, but we're not gonna." Take the reins.
It's a lot healthier than just suddenly realizing that your toy collection and comic collection no longer.
What about that video on the internet of the dad mowing over all of his son's video games?
I've seen that.
Wait, what?
This father, I guess, got tired of his son just playing video games, so he took all the games that he had, and like dumps them into this pile in the backyard, and gets on his riding mower. And starts to go over them. And the kid is, like, there in the backyard, like, being like, "No, Dad, no!" Like, trying to be like the Tiananmen Square kid, you know?
Like, standing in front of the riding lawnmower, like in front of the tanks.
Yeah, but just to make this analogy even worse, apparently the father is not even as humane as the Soviet Union, or was it the Soviet? China. Well, they're all the same. They're all evil, right? It's America.
The Axis.
Yeah. And just mows over them, and you just see this kid like have like a breakdown. Like if I remember correctly, the kid wasn't actually in between the mower and the discs, so it wasn't like the dad drove through the kid. But still, like that's an awful way to go about doing that.
I bet he posted it online being like, "Look how badass I am. Look how badass I am.
I'm so cool.
Yeah.
I'm so..." Actually, it was a third party. It was
badass I am.
Yeah.
Whatever, Marion. Look at it or don't.
I feel like there's got to be easier ways to go about that,
right?
But I'm not a parent. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell somebody this. "Oh, you should parent your child," though. You should probably not do that.
Yeah.
You should probably not cause traumatic events in your child.
Apparently, Joe Straczynski, the guy that writes the Earth One Superman, wrote Spider-Man for like 5 years or so, maybe longer than 5 years. As punishment, his dad took his entire comic book collection as a child, lit a match, like had put it all in a pile, doused it, lit a match, and burned it in front of him, which is like equal in my.
It's not about the comic books; it's about sending a message.
Yeah. When are you guys going to learn that? Huh?
Yeah, one of his G.I. Joes, like on the top in a chair.
Yeah. You know what's cheap? Gasoline. Yeah, that's just like, at least when my mom sent the stuff to like Good Fucking Will, you know, like
someone benefited from it.
Yeah, I can only imagine somebody's sitting there with my, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures all these years later, or my Swamp Thing action figures that my sister didn't break, and it's like, actually like enjoying them, That's
my dad sold my video games and consoles to give money to his ex-wife.
The alimony payments.
No, it wasn't even that.
Oh.
She needed money, and he saw that I was enjoying these consoles and thought, yeah, I can sell these. I bought them for him.
Yeah, she should have talked to J.G. Wentworth, man. It's my money, and I want it now.
Hey, real quick, guys. Since I have all of you here,
Do you?
Okay. Well, since I have these two here, and you're an imaginary friend, you all remember Ilya, right? The guy that we interviewed.
Yeah, for 10.
Yeah. So he's going to be at Special Edition New York, selling his tin comics.
Nice.
Yeah. So quick little plug right there. Go check him out.
Yeah. Check out that episode too.
Yeah. Tin comics at specialedition.com.
Yeah. But gorgeous art. Gorgeous art.
No, lovely. But he, since he's kind of new to this, he's asking my opinion, and I'm going to open this up to the floor, for how much he should sell the first issue for, because he has printed copies of the first issue that he's going to be selling at Special Edition New York Comic Con. So let us confer, and see if we can come to a consensus for a suggestion. Who knows if that's actually going to be the price?
Is it a graphic novel or is it a floppy?
I assume it's a floppy. It's only what was it, like 15 pages when it was all said and done.
Given that it's self-published, I'd say 5 to 7.
That's what I was thinking, around $5. Jake, you have an opinion? You work at a comic book shop.
I do. I don't know. I think the $5 range isn't bad.
Yeah. I mean, if you think of it like, you know, a normal comic book at a news, you know, like any comic book at a comic book shop, you know, is going to be, what is it now, like
anywhere from
$4?
$2.99 to $4.99.
Yeah. So I would say con prices, $5 for a single issue of a book isn't obscene. But my big hang up on going any higher than that is that this is his first comic book ever. You know, he is an unknown, except to our fans.
And it's self-published.
Yeah, and it's self-published. You know, so it doesn't have a big name behind it like DC or Image or.
And just self-publishing is never cheap.
That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking like 5 to 7.
Josh?
Oh, when I was buying comics, I didn't pay attention to the price. I just paid whatever it was. So I'm the worst person to
throwing
ask.
that money, making it rain.
Throwing those bills.
I would defer to whatever Jake says, since he's got business know-how on this kind of
So I will
matter.
I will text back $5.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll try to swing by and meet him. I know me and Ken are going to special edition that weekend. So
yeah, Ken's taking my pass because my brother decided to get married that weekend.
Now, the day this posts, and you guys should keep this in mind, New York Comic Con tickets go on sale.
Oh, snap. Well, I don't know. Tom McFarlane hurt my feelings. I don't know.
Yeah. Never again. Yeah. Never again, Todd.
We were supposed to be friends, Todd.
You just take all your issues of Spawn and run them over in a lawnmower, just like, fuck you.
Yeah, this is only hurting me, really.
Just put them all into a box and just mail it to Todd McFarlane.
What's the thing in the Spider-Man book you have that they keep saying? Rise above it?
Oh, rise above it all.
Maybe I should just rise above it all, man.
Yeah.
And just
in every single issue of that first story arc of Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, which is like 5-6 issues, the second page is just in all caps and an exclamation point, and it was just rise above it all.
Rise above it.
Might as well call the story Rise Above It All, but no, we call it Torment. So,
I mean,
Go figure.
Rise above all the torment.
You know, I do love what John Lennon said about what
Tom McFarlane.
Yes, yeah. He knew. He just like, in 10 years after my death, there will be a Spider-Man artist. Because I apparently...
It's so insane to even think about, like, I mean, obviously he didn't say that, but like...
But he did.
Yeah. 10 years after my death, there will be a Spider-Man artist who will rise above it all.
His name will be Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
But what John Lennon said about people burning his... Like, if we're talking people destroying, like, comics or video games or whatever, when, you know, people were burning Beatles albums in America in the 60s after he said the Beatles were bigger than Jesus, he was like, they got to buy him to burn him.
Exactly.
Like, he was just like, cool.
Yeah. And I would never burn Todd McFarlane work, by the way.
I never understood the like, oh, we're going to buy this thing and then we're going to burn it in effigy.
Yeah,
like,
you're just being stupid.
I get the message that you're sending, but you still sent them money, so you're still sending that message too.
Yeah, it's the same kind of people that would probably get a kick out of burning books.
The Nazis?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I don't think they bought.
Well, no, they didn't. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like the middle
They're Nazis.
Yeah.
Remember that scene in Last Crusade where Indiana Jones meets Hitler at a book burning?
And he signs his
really
father's
weird.
journal.
Yeah. Or remember that line in Last Crusade where Sean Connery is getting slapped in the Nazi tank, and he's like, I find that maybe I should take better opinion from guys that read books instead of that burning them.
Yeah.
And then he, like,
remember
dies.
the tank guy who's like, yeah, and he gets shot in the back of the head and just
he gets
dies.
shot in the forehead.
Is it forehead? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
ricochets into his forehead.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, I'm not having a good time anymore.
Yeah.
And then the facial expression of the Nazi on the top of the tank when it goes over the cliff. And it, like, zooms in on his, or he goes into the frame and he's just,
Yeah.
Yeah. Best Nazi death ever, I think.
Next to
it's one of the most over the top. I mean, the melting faces and dried up faces. And
yeah,
and like the Zangief Nazi
no.
getting cut up by
the best Nazi death is in the end of Last Crusade.
He chose
What is happening to me? Which fucking like scared the crap out of me.
Still terrifies.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll ever get to this point in Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures on the Super Nintendo.
I can only hope.
But the last boss is Skeleton Donovan.
Oh, really?
Because he drinks from it, and has the whole what is up?
That's how I can finally face my fear.
And then you fight.
Literally face your fear.
Face my fear. That's the whole idea that freaked me out so
yourself.
much. Well, I used to always listen to Indiana Jones book on tape, read by the Fat Man from Jake and the Fat Man.
Yes.
What are you trying to say, Jake?
No, I'm just saying that's the guy who read it, and he had a very distinct voice.
He also he played canon.
Yeah, and that scene in the end, with the scene in the book where Indiana Jones, where Donovan jinxes him and chooses poorly, it's just as horrifying.
Oh, do they does the way he voiced it?
Yeah, he's just like the way he does it. I was like, just like turning off the cassette as a child.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put in my Dick Tracy cassette or my Rocketeer cassette.
Yeah. I had a Who Framed Roger Rabbit cassette.
Nice.
And they kept the scene in the cassette version where Eddie Valentine's head gets cartoonized.
Really?
And he has to turpentine it off. That's one of the most if you've never seen that deleted scene, if you're looking to avoid a nightmare, for starters, don't. But if you're cool with having a few nightmares, then certainly look up the deleted scene where Eddie Valentine gets cartoonized and has to turpentine his cartoon head in the shower.
I love how just random movies from the 80s and early 90s would have their home video releases and just include random deleted scenes.
Yeah.
That you can only find in that one release of it,
like the Harrison Ford.
Like the Harrison Ford in E.T. or the turpentine, the Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or the octopus in the Goonies. Because I remember having the octopus in my copy of the Goonies, but then a couple years ago, they did a select run in certain theaters, and everyone was like, "Is it going to have the octopus scene? Is it going to have the octopus scene?" And I was like, "Why wouldn't it? Wasn't that in the movie?"
Yeah, Wrath of Khan has a scene where he introduces his nephew to Captain or Admiral Kirk, and his nephew dies, saving the ship. And if in the theatrical cut, that scene is in the ABC broadcast cut, and I guess it's been restored in all the home video cuts. But in the theatrical cut, they cut that scene of him introducing his nephew out. So as far as you know, if you watch the theatrical version of Wrath of Khan, it's just Scotty losing his shit that some young kid dies, and he's just like, oh, it's just so random. But yeah. So I don't know why. And I remember on an ABC broadcast of The Lost World, commentary coming soon, there's they reinserted a scene where the head of InGen has a board meeting and basically says that the girl that got attacked by compies in the beginning of the movie sued the company, which never made sense to me. It's because they were trespassing on the island to begin with. But
hey, man, in this world, a criminal who falls through your skylight can sue you, even though they were trying to break into your house.
Truth. But
law. And that's where martial law comes in. Break the shit out of those guys.
Yeah, just take them all out.
Yeah.
Castle law. Bitch.
Castle law.
That's what the term is. Yeah. But yeah, you guys got anything, before we sign off for the week? It's been, like I said, it's been kind of a random, low-key week. Hope you guys had fun at home.
Been rewatching The League, which is a great show.
Always a good time.
We were showing the draft, I guess, at work, and it just reminded me of all the first episodes of each of the seasons of the League, and I was like, I've never been huge into football, but I do love The League. So I'm almost done with what they have on Netflix.
I feel like I keep up more with fantasy football than football.
Yeah. In terms of watching The League, yes, I do too.
But Josh, Jake, anything before we sign off for the week?
Nope.
Well, awesome. So this has been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
I'm Josh.
And we'll see you guys next week with more to talk about.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.